Some of the months I'm grumpier than other months. It really depends on whether or not I like the current patch, how I judge Infinity Nikki at the time, but there is a reason why I am sticking with this game for such a long while, and I just wanted to have a video of appreciation because I don't do these ones often, and there was a post on the subreddit for Infinity Nikki that kind of reminded me why I have appreciation for this game. Now, mind you, the poster, it's their first month of playing. So when you start playing this game, your opinion is gonna be higher of it than if you're like in this game for a year now and you're judging it patch to patch. It's kind of like the new experience of a live service game versus I have been here for like over a year now, so I have already experienced the nice things in the game, and now I get to sit here and judge the newly arriving content versus just having that reaction of awe. So keep that in mind, but I would like to read this post for you, and then I would also like to talk to you about the state of games for girls in general and where this games for girls normally is, and we have it good compared to years and years before. So, post first. Perspective from a gaming elder. You folks have a better game than you think. Sorry if this is out of place or unwelcome, but there has been a lot of discourse on this sub and apparently the wider community about various content offerings. And I just have to say, as someone who has been playing games since my cousin handed me a Game Boy with TLOZ, so I have to assume it's Zelda, it's one of the Zeldas, Link's Awakening, in the back of a pickup truck in the early 90s and said, here, play this. Infinity Nikki is impressive and technically astounding, and that's only considering the free offerings. I have spent most of my life avoiding the free-to-play model, denouncing microtransactions and DLC culture, and deriding mobile games. This is one of the games that has won me over to that business model. My spouse and I have been playing for a month now, and pretty much every day my jaw drops open with how technically and artistically impressive this game is. Infinity Nikki doesn't have to have collision on back-facing rocks at the bottom islands, right above the kill floor, but it does. They didn't have to enable you to fly from one island to the next without a single loading transition, but they put that effort in. They didn't have to make all that lore so very intricate and detailed, but they did. The NPCs have dynamic reactions to you based on certain contexts, and the seamless regions of the games are huge. Each one is easily as large or larger than the plateau in Breath of the Wild, and for many, playing that plateau felt like a game in itself. The game is a mixture of genres, and that in and of itself is unusual and impressive. I played a lot of 3D platformers, and the platforming is on par with many of them, only really beat out by the cream of the crop like Mario. I played a lot of adventure Zelda-likes, and the ability gating is really good. Though admittedly, it's not on a Metroidvania or classic Zelda level of ability gating. Yes, it's made up for, in my opinion, with sheer variety. I've played a lot of stats-based RPGs, and the dress-up mechanic with optimization, crafting, etc. is just as complicated and number-go-up dopamine-inducing as any of them. On top of that, they release free updates monthly, and they let you earn whole new mechanics. None of the things I described above had to be designed and developed in this game, and it still would have been a successful and profitable gacha game. Remove the gacha and the game still has a lot of technical and design feats that put many AAA games to shame. Consider this perspective. Games cost $10 to $20 for a good indie title, $40 to $50 for a standard mainstream title, $60 to $70 for a AAA game. The prices have gone up over the years, but even 30 years ago, the motto was a new game is $50. Okay, I spent that much on a new Zelda title and get maybe 100 gameplay hours out of it, yeah? Maybe 500 or so, if I absolutely love it. My spouse and I spent $4 in February, so we could get a bit of the head start on the Celestial Deer. We, mostly them, but I play quite a bit too, played 70 hours this month. At that rate, by the time we spent the amount of money it takes to buy a mainstream AAA game, we will have played around 850 to 1000 hours. So take it from a gaming elder, you guys have pretty good here. Edit before I get dogpiled. It's perfectly valid to feel as though the direction they are taking the game in is profiteering and predatory. And then to discuss mechanical and design particularities about each update and recognize that they follow a manipulative pattern. I can see that as well. But I'm over here too busy thinking about how the blades of grass sway nicely in the wind, and when you jump up high on moss-covered log and the sun shines in your eyes, and over there a mushroom man is riding a snail very slowly, and every so often they have to stop so that the snail can catch his breath because he's just going at too brisk of a pace. This is a game full of moments of happiness and joy, and you can spend hours upon hours just vibing in that alone. So I'm gonna point out a couple of things. First of all, this person is a low spender, and that is perfectly valid, but I spent a lot more than a AAA title by this point. Think of it this way. Most months, I have a monthly and a battle pass running. Sometimes I try to skip the battle pass to make up for the months when I spend a lot more. So during Christmas, when 2.0 released, it was December, I spent £65 on this game on purpose. And during the 2.2, which was like the Chinese New Year's patch, I bought the Stellarite pack. So I think my spendings were 20 to 30 pounds. So some months I try to make sure that I'm under the £15 mark, which would be monthly plus battle pass, just to kind of make up for it, but it doesn't always work, which means that my average spending a year on this game is at least 12 times 15. So that would be 150 plus 30, so that would be about £180, which, speaking in MMO terms, is not that unusual if you have a subscription running or if you're playing a buy-to-play MMO, and speaking in gacha terms, it's not that unusual for those as well. It's just that the price of the game is like different person to person, and of course, when you run out of meat and potatoes in the game and finish both 1.0 and 2.0, your playtime will drastically drop because now you're gonna be logging for the new content inside updates instead of just having all of this breadth of game in front. So part of this person's write-up, part of it is still like the rose-tinted glasses. But I just wanted to say that despite all of my grumblings, and despite all the things that I don't like about Infinity Nikki is a very impressive game. Try telling someone for 20 years ago that you can have an open world dress-up game for girls and grown women. It's not targeted towards like 5-year-olds, and it has the amount of effort put in as a big budget title. Do you know what was kind of usual when I was growing up? Well, at this point I was like closer to being a bit more grown up. I was teenager when Imagine series was happening, but this is the kind of games that girls got. And if you want to see how often they release them, look at this. Just look at this. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. Sometimes they will release several games in the same month even. Imagine series, I think, yeah, it came from Ubisoft and it was pumping out titles like so fast that you could say that there was like a title on average, every 3 to 5 weeks for the amount of time that it ran. How could they produce a good game like this? Well, they didn't. They just took very simplistic games and they reskinned them as many times as they can, or sometimes they borrowed from other franchises and other titles from other countries. When they borrowed from other countries, like from Japan, and just republished the Japanese games under their Imagine brand, they stood out as being a lot better. But a lot of these were cash-ins, effectively. It's shovelware. It's the kind of game that you might play on a Flash website as a throwaway, but they were selling it with like a $50 price tag. Like it was priced as a full game. And this is what girls got. When I was growing up, this is not the kind of game that I had, but it is a good example. Like Galaxy Games, games for girls, and it's normally like a compilation. It will advertise so many fun games, and it will normally advertise like 10, 20, 50, 200. The one that I had like a insane amount of number on it, something like 2,000 games for girls, and you know what it is? It's Bejeweled. It's like multiple versions of reskin Bejeweled. Or like shooting floating things in the air. Like it's very unengaging casual mini games, but it's seen as the kind of things that girls should engage in. Like, you know, for boys we have things like Doom. For boys we have like shooters and RPGs and all of these wonderful AAA titles, and for girls we have Bejeweled and shooting balls into the air. Yes! Of course, there were other titles. There were, for example, Barbie games. But Barbie games, they were made and targeted towards little girls. And an average game from Barbie series, how much gameplay does it have? About 2 hours. Because mothers will buy them, even if they're overpriced, for their little girl that's into Barbies. As for anything more than that, well, maybe computers are not a girl thing. Maybe computers are for boys. Why would you want such a crazy thing as a girl's game? That's like the high production girl's game. That's a reason why Infold had a niche that they had to begin with Shining Nikki and Love Nikki and Love in Deep Space. They targeted women, and they targeted women with fairly well made up games with complex storylines. It wasn't just Bejeweled or Find an Object or click on the space alien or whatever else we think is appropriate for women to play, because silly women, they don't want normal games. They don't want high production. Why would they do that? What are they doing on a computer to begin with? So effectively, what you had when Infold stepped in was higher quality still gotchas on your phone. Or you could select from a lot of like lower quality casual phone games. Or you can play unisex games on PC. And by unisex, I mean that majority of them tend to kind of target men. Like, for example, I really like Crusader Kings 2 and 3, but that doesn't mean that Crusader Kings 2 and 3 was made with women in mind. It was made as a grand strategy game. I don't think that they actually thought about the target demographic outside of like maybe history nerds. I think that was like the essential targeting, and then if women joined that audience, it's like women joined that audience. To go out of your way to make a game for girls on PC with open world, with significant dress-up mechanics, because once again, you're not just retitling a casual game, you're actually making a game for girls that outputs updates on the monthly, even if it has a bit of flaws. Like, when games for girls are concerned, especially games for grown-ass women, this is a lot better than what we normally have. So that's what this video is. This video is an appreciation letter to Infinity Nikki. Is it perfect? No. But would I take this over like a reskin Do You Wanna Vet? Do You Wanna Be a Vet game for like a 5-year-old? Where it's like the same mini game but sold under many different like labels of like, this is how to be a teacher, this is how to be a vet, but like it's literally the exact same minigame with a different skin for $50 price tag. Or like, would I take this over a Barbie game that has like 2 hours worth of game time, but was once again sold to little girls? Would I take this over a CD that goes games for girls and it's just 200 Bejeweled clones with a bit of a different skin? Because, of course, girls wouldn't want a regular game. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, the fact that this even exists is impressive. I would love for more of this to exist, for more companies to join in, for grown ass women and girls to be targeted and sold to when it comes to games industry. I would like this to become a regular genre thing, that you can make a game that's the size and the quality of effectively a AAA, and you can target women as your market base by including things that women tend to lean into and enjoy more than men on average. So, yeah, for all of the complaints that I have, in comparison, in comparison, we have it good, and I'm happy that at the very least this exists. So this is a Infinity Nikki appreciation video. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to share in the comments the kind of things that you do actually like about Infinity Nikki. Let's like take a day break from complaining about what there is to complain about. And don't get me wrong, complaints are valid. All of our patches tend to have bugs or predatory monetization or something wrong with them. But just for today, let's appreciate it. And also take a chance to reminiscence about any games for girls gaming that you have done before this point while growing up, because I think that that is a wonderful topic to also explore and talk about with other people in the comment section down below. So yeah, thank you for watching. Regular broadcasting will return soon, for I still have a lot of more normal Infinity Nikki videos to upload. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters, and toodaloo for now.